Good morning. I'm going to be talking this morning about Chapter 19. This is our last chapter and is the content for this week 15 material. So we'll jump right in. Chapter 19 deals with pricing concepts, and price is a pretty pivotal element of the marketing mix. It is the piece that drives your revenue, which drives your profit. And so it's really important to understand how you leverage it in the marketing strategy. So we'll talk a little bit here, first of all, about demand and price elasticity. In general, as your price goes up, your demand for a product will tend to go down. That's not always the case, but it's a good rule of thumb. And so the extent to which that happens has to do with elasticity. If you have a product that is very sensitive to price, so if you make a small change in price and it causes a large change in demand, that would be a very elastic product. If you have a product where a price change doesn't change the quantity that's purchased, you would say that's an inelastic sort of a scenario. So you could think about maybe gasoline, for example. You need to drive to get to go to work, to get to school, and you're going to buy gas no matter what the cost is. That would be an example of an inelastic demand for a product. Okay, so there's a number of mathematical sorts of elements that people look to when they're trying to figure out the best price point to set for a product. In order to get your arms around that, you need to understand what your fixed costs are. These are the costs that don't change depending on how much product you're producing. Your variable costs are the ones that do change based on how much product you're producing. So then with the two of those, you can calculate a total cost. Marginal cost and marginal revenue, there's a good bit of discussion in the chapter about this, and the point is that if it's costing you less to produce an additional product quantity, additional unit of product, then the additional revenue you're getting from that product being made, then at that point you want to keep producing. But if your marginal cost is greater than your marginal revenue, at that point you're subtracting from your profit, and so you want to try to find that price point where your marginal cost is going to equal your marginal revenue, and at that point you're maximizing your profit. So break-even analysis is another concept that's dealt with in the term, and the idea here is that you have a certain amount of costs and they're going to change depending on how much product you produce. So there's a point where your total cost equals your total revenue, and that's considered the break-even point. So as a company, of course, you want to try to be above that point so that your total revenue is exceeding your total cost, but you need to know where that point is when you're dealing with pricing a product. Okay, so let's move on here. A lot of factors impact how you go about setting price. This is not, I would say, a simple area, and a lot of these elements are not quantitative. They're subjective or quality related to how you conduct your company. So what are your objectives as a company? What are your pricing objectives? What sort of profit goals do you have? What are your costs? Of course, you've got to set a price that lets you cover your costs. So that one is a metric that you should be able to measure. How does the price fit in with the other elements of the marketing mix? So if you've got a prestige product and you're selling it through an exclusive distribution channel and you're trying to drive the price down, that doesn't necessarily mesh with the image you're creating for this product and how you're positioning it. So that's the point with that element. What are your channel members expecting? So you do work, you're not operating in a bubble here. You've got partners that are involved, and their input is important, and also the customer's reaction to a price is important too. If you change the price, what is their perception of that? What will they react strongly by moving to another product? For example, how do your competitors price similar products? You have to care about that. Regardless of all of these other things, you have to be competitive in the marketplace. And then are there legal and regulatory issues that you need to be aware of? Let's take a look at those in the chapter. Let's see, what's next? Businesses have, when you're talking B2B marketing, there are some additional sorts of pricing tools that you can use to encourage selling through your distribution channel. And so you have some discounting opportunities here. Trade discounts are supposed to help your resellers cover their costs for helping you to market their product. So they're typical. Quantity discounts, if you can get resellers to purchase large volumes, you may give them an extra discount. Cash discounts have to do with paying promptly for product. Generally, resellers will have payment terms, so they may not have to pay for products for 30 or 60 days. And so if you can get them to pay you more quickly, that helps your cash flow, and you might be willing to give them a discount for that. Seasonal discounts have to do with buying things that are out of season and more with trade-in allowances. So if you've got used product that they're returning, you might give them a price benefit. This has to do with transportation costs. And basically, are you as a company going to cover the shipping costs of getting your product into your reseller channel? And there's different ways to price that. You can price your product so that your customer has to pay for it from the time they pick it up from the factory, or you can cover the costs and it would be FOB destination where you would cover the shipping costs for them. There's zone pricing. There's a couple other different pricing options you can look to in the book. And transfer pricing, this has to do with how you price product that's moving between departments in the same company. So let's see. I think we're going to be moving on now to the assignment. Yeah. Okay, so the discussion assignment for this week has to do with dynamic pricing, which is a concept where you can change the pricing for a product based on different factors. So you see this a lot in the airline industry or the hotel industry, where the closer you get to the date of a travel, your price for a flight or a room may likely go up. And so depending on what demand is, the company has a system in place where they can gauge what the market will pay for a product. And so they're starting to use this concept with sporting events, baseball games in particular in this case. And so I'm asking you to look at that and talk about the concept of dynamic pricing and what other factors ought to be considered by a sports event such as this when thinking about using that pricing tool. And then I want your opinion on whether or not you think they should do this, and we'll talk a little bit about it with our classmates, and that's the assignment there. There is a MindTap quiz, 16 questions for Chapter 19. You'll have 2 attempts, and you'll get feedback after the due date, which I believe this week is the 8th. So that's it for this week. Let me know if y'all have any questions on this chapter, and this buttons up our content for the term. So thanks, everybody.